Hello there, and welcome to your next math lesson. Go ahead and open up your math notebook to your next available page. And at the top, write the title of today's lesson, which is Divide Decimals. So our last lesson was about dividing a decimal by a whole number. In today's lesson, we are learning how to divide a decimal by a decimal. So here's an example. Let's say we had 16 and 5/10 divided by 3/100. Okay, so we have a decimal number divided by a decimal number. Okay, well, 16 and 5/10 is the dividend, so it goes inside the house, and 3/100 is the divisor, so it goes outside the house. Now we just have to follow some steps, and we're going to go through those steps one at a time. Step 1 is hop the decimal in the divisor. What do I mean by hop the decimal? Well, actually, the divisor in a long division problem cannot have a decimal in it. So that decimal needs to hop over to the right. And it hops over as many times as it needs to get all the way to the right of the number. So it's going to hop over once, twice. Now the decimal point is no longer here. Now it's here instead. And you might say, well, you're changing the divisor. Now we're not dividing with the same numbers. Well, that's true. But as long as we change the dividend the same amount, we'll still get the same answer. And so that's why the second step is decimal in dividend copies. Whatever the decimal in the dividend sees the decimal in the divisor do, he does the same thing. So this decimal hopped twice, so this decimal hops twice too. Now he's right here. Okay, and what do we put in the empty pocket? A 0. Okay, that's step 2. Step 3 is decimal takes the elevator to the top floor. So he says, ding, ding, going up. And that's where the decimal point goes. Okay, that's step 3. Decimal takes the elevator to the top floor. Step 4, divide normally. Just do a normal long division problem here. So we're dividing 3. We can't fit 3 into 1. We can fit 3 into 16. So the first part of our quotient will go right here above the 6. 3 can fit into 16 5 times, because 3 times 5 is 15. That gets us closest to 6 without going over. 5 times 3 is 15. Now we subtract. 16 minus 15 is 1. Is 1 smaller than 3? Yes, that's how we know this 5 is correct. So now we bring down. 3 can fit into 15 5 times. Now we multiply. 5 times 3 is 15. 15 minus 15 is 0. 0 is smaller than 3. That's how we know this 5 is correct. Now we bring down the 0. 3 can fit into 0 times. 0 times 3 is 0, and 0 minus 0 is 0. So the answer is 550, and we don't actually need the decimal point there, because when the decimal point is all the way to the right of a number, you don't need to show it. So the answer is 550. Okay, let's do another example together. Let's say we had 66/100 divided by 3/100. I'm going to scroll up to where you won't be able to see these steps anymore, but you should have them written on your own page. So you should still be able to see them. So 66 hundredths is the dividend. 3/10 is the divisor. Okay, first step, hop the decimal over in the divisor. He only has to hop one time to get all the way to the right of the number, which means this one just hops one time too, because the second step is decimal in the dividend copies. Step 3 is decimal takes the elevator to the top floor. Ding, ding, going up. Okay. Step 4 is divide normally. 3 can't fit into 0, but he can fit into 6 2 times. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 minus 6 is 0. 0 is smaller than 3. Now we bring down the 6. 3 can go into 6 2 times. 2 times 3 is 6, and 6 minus 6 is 0. The answer is 2 2/10. Let's do another one together. Let's say we had 462 thousandths divided by 2/10. 462 thousandths is the dividend, so it goes in the house. 2/10 is the divisor, so it goes outside the house. Step 1, hop the decimal in the divisor. He hops all the way over to the right. Step 2, decimal in the dividend copies. He hopped one time, so he hops one time too. Now he's no longer here. Now the decimal point is right here. So now instead of having 462 thousandths, now we have 4 and 62 hundredths divided by, it's not 2/10 anymore. Now it's just 2, because now the 2 is to the left of the decimal point. Okay, step 3 is decimal takes the elevator to the top floor, going up. And step 4, divide normally. 2 can't fit into 0, but he can fit into 4 2 times. 2 times 2 equals 4. 4 minus 4 equals 0. 0 is smaller than 2. Now we bring down the 6. 2 can fit into 6 3 times. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 minus 6 is 0. 0 is smaller than 2. Now we bring down the 2. 2 can fit into 2. 1 time. 2 times. 1 time, that's a really fat 1. 1 times 2 is 2, and 2 minus 2 is 0. So the answer is 2 31 hundredths. Because the decimal point's right there. Let's do some more examples. Let's say we had 18 6/10 divided by 12/10. Whoops, you can't even see it. There we go. 18 6/10 divided by 12/10. We build our long division house. 18 6/10 is the dividend. It goes in the house. 12 hundredths. Did I say 12/10 before? It's 12 hundredths is the divisor. It goes outside the house. Step 1, hop the decimal in the divisor. He hops once, twice to get all the way to the right of the number. Now he's right here. And now instead of having 12 hundredths, it's just 12. He hopped twice in the divisor, so he hops twice in the dividend. 1, 2. Okay. Next step is decimal takes the elevator to the top floor. He goes straight up. Next step, divide normally. We can't fit 12 into 1, but we can fit it into 18. It can fit in 1 time. Now we multiply. 1 times 12 is 12. Now we subtract. 8 minus 12 is 6. Now we compare. Is 6 smaller than 12? Yes. Now we bring down. 12 can fit into 66 5 times because 5 times 12 is 60. And 66 minus 6 is 6. Now, do we write remainder 6? No, we don't do that. When we have decimals in division, we don't write remainders. Instead, what do? We add zeros to the right. So that's the one step that we didn't add over on this side. Step 4 is divide normally. Step 5 is add zeros until it resolves. Now, sometimes you can't add zeros until it resolves. Sometimes you've already added so many zeros and it's just going to keep going and going and going forever. And so you just stop the problem and you just might round the answer to the 100th place or to the 1000th place. Okay. So we can add a zero here and then we can bring that zero down. And then we can go back to divide. 12 goes into 60 5 times. 5 times 12 is 60, and 60 minus 60 is 0. So the answer is 155. We don't actually need this decimal point here because the 5 is in the ones place and there's nothing in the tenths place. So we don't need the decimal point. Okay, let's do another example. Let's do 7 hundredths divided by 1 4/10. Notice on this one, the dividend's bigger than the divisor. You can do that when you're dividing with decimals. I'm sorry, I think I said that wrong. I said the dividend's bigger than the divisor. That's how it normally is. The dividend's smaller than the divisor. We're dividing a bigger number into a smaller number. You can do that when you're dividing with decimals. You just get an answer that's less than 1. So 7 hundredths goes in the house because it's the dividend. It comes first. 1 4/10 goes outside the house because it's the divisor. Now, decimal hops over to the right, and he does the same thing here. Now, look, we can't fit 14 into 0. We can't fit it into 0, and we can't fit it into 7. What do? We can add a 0 to the right because we have a decimal point in front of it. We can add zeros to the right of a decimal number, and it doesn't change the value. Now we can divide 14 into 70. Now, how do we figure out how many times 14 can fit into 70? Well, how many times can 1 fit into 7? 7 times. So we know 14 won't be able to fit into 77 times because 10 would fit into 77 times, and 14 is more than 10. So let's pretend this was a 2. How many times can 2 fit into 7? Let's try a 3, and let's see what happens. We might have to adjust the quotient. 3 times 4 is 12, carry the 1. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. Now we subtract. Borrow from the 7, make it a 6, making this 0 a 10. 10 minus 2 is 8. 6 minus 4 is 2. Look, 28. That's bigger than 14. So what do? We adjust the quotient. When this number is bigger than this number, we need to adjust the quotient up. So a 3 didn't work. Let's try, I accidentally erased where my new decimals are. Let's try a 4. 4 times 4 is 16, carry the 1. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Let's subtract this. Borrow from the 7, make it a 6, making this 0 a 10. 10 minus 6 is 4. 6 minus 5 is 1. Is 14 smaller than 14? No. That means this can go up even more. A 4 didn't work, so let's try a 5. 5 times 4 is 20, carry the 2. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7, and 70 minus 70 is 0. Now, decimal, we forgot to make decimal take the elevator to the top floor. He's right here. Now, we have a decimal and then a space and then a 5. What can we fill in here? zeros. These are like empty pockets. We can put zeros here, and we put a 0 in the ones place too. So the answer is, notice we divided a bigger number into a smaller number, so we get an answer that's less than 1, and 5/100ths is definitely less than 1. Let's do another example together. That was some good practice adjusting the quotient. Let's do 3 822 thousandths divided by 4/100ths. 3 822 thousandths is the dividend, so it goes in the house. 4/100ths is the divisor, so it goes outside the house. First thing we do is decimal hops over to get all the way to the right of the divisor. And then the decimal and the dividend copies. He hops twice as well. So now he's right here. Next step is decimal takes the elevator to the top floor, and then we divide normally. 4 can't fit into 3, but 4 can fit into 38. How many times can 4 fit into 38? Well, 4 times 9 is 36. That's as close as we can get without going over. So we'll try a 9. 9 times 4 is 36. 38 minus 36 is 2. Is 2 smaller than 4? Yes. So now we bring down the 2. Now we go back to divide. 4 can fit into 22. How many times? 4 times 5 is 20. That gets us as close as to 22 as we can get without going over. So 4 can fit into 22 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20. 22 minus 20 is 2. 2 is smaller than 4. So now we bring down. How many times can 4 fit into 22? Again, it's 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20. 22 minus 20 is 2. Now, do we write remainder 2? No, we add a 0 and bring it down. And 4 can fit into 20 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20. 20 minus 20 is 0. So the answer is 95 55/100ths. All right, I think you're probably ready for your independent work now. So